Mr. President, as I think you know, this country has a record-breaking deficit and a $15 trillion national debt. What many people do not know is that one of the reasons that our deficit is as high as it is because there is a significant amount of fraud from defense contractors who sell their products to the Department of Defense. I think the American people are very clear that when we pay $1 for a product that goes to our military, we want to get $1's worth of value, that we do not want to see the taxpayers of this country or the Department of Defense ripped off by fraudulent contractors. Unfortunately, fraud within the DoD in terms of private contractors is widespread. During the last number of years, we have seen company after company engaged in fraud, including some of the largest defense contractors in the United States. Just for example, Lockheed Martin, the largest defense contractor in our country, in 2008 paid $10.5 million to settle charges that it defrauded the government by submitting false invoices on a multi-billion-dollar contract connected to the Titan IV space launch vehicle program. That didn't seem to sour the relationship between Lockheed and the DoD, which gave Lockheed $30.2 billion in contracts in fiscal year 2009, more than ever before. So one of the patterns that we see is that a company gets convicted or reaches a settlement with regard to charges of fraud, but next year they continue to get very significant contracts. In another case, regarding one of the large defense contractors, Northrop Grumman, they paid $62 million in 2005 to settle charges that, quote, it engaged in a fraud scheme by routinely submitting false contract proposals and concealed basic problems in its handling of inventory, scrap, and attrition, end of quote. Despite that serious charge of pervasive and repeated fraud, Northrop Grumman received $12.9 billion in contracts the following year, 16% more than the year before. Mr. President, it seems clear to me that we need to do a much better job in terms of attacking fraud within the Department of Defense. Several years ago, I offered an amendment which was passed, which provided that the DoD list virtually all of the fraud committed within the DoD. We have that report, and it is rather astounding. People should read it. But right now, what this amendment does is it says to the DoD, get your act together, hire the necessary well-trained staff so that they are monitoring the contracts and making sure that we do not continue to see the pervasive amount of fraud committed against the taxpayers of this country or the Defense Department. And I would hope very much that that amendment gets widespread support and that we see it passed.